Multiply decimals. I can find the place value of the product of two decimals mentally, and I can solve decimal multiplication problems. So let's write down the rules. 1. Multiply as whole numbers. 2. Count the number of decimal places. 3. Move the decimal back in. So stop the video now if you need to get those rules written down. All right, so let's take a look. Number 1 says multiply as whole numbers. So I write 124, act like the decimal point isn't there, and 17. Now we have to remember how to double digit multiply. 7 times 4 is 28, so I write down the 8, carry the 2. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16, carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Now I have to put a 0 down to hold the place value. 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 times 1 is 1. And now I need to add. This is 8, 6 plus 4 is 10, carry the 1. We have got 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, carry the 1, and we have 2. So right now we have the whole number 2,108, but we need to count our decimal places. So what that means is we need to figure out, I want to just get a different color here. Let's put a decimal point right here and a decimal point right here where they are. So now we have 12.4 and 1.7. So count the number of decimal places. What that means is count how many it takes to make it a whole number. So it took 1 to make it a whole number. And this one also took 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. I have to go back in, starting as a whole number here, back in 2 spots. 1, 2. So my answer is 21.08. So let's try the next one. Go ahead and multiply 3.7 and 0.8. Think of them both as whole numbers. So we have 37 times 8. We don't have to write that 0. 8 times 7 is 56, carry the 5. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 5 is 29. Now again, we need to put the decimal points in. So I'm going to put 1 here and 1 here. I have to move it over 1 time and then 1 time. So I have to move it back in 2, 1, 2. Let's say, for instance, the decimal point was here. Then I would have moved it over twice and 1, so then I would have had to move it back in 3 times. So let's work on where the decimal point actually goes. Let's do this one first and then we will. So again, it's 12 and 74. I like to put 74 on top since that's the bigger of the two numbers, and go ahead and multiply them. All right, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 7 is 14. Put down the 0 to hold the place. 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 7 is 7. Add, we get 8, 8, and 8. Now again, we need to put the decimal in. So I'm going to put it here for 7.4 and here for 0.12 or 1200ths. So I move it over 1 time, and this one I have to move 2 times. 1 plus 2 is 3. So I start as a whole number and move it back in 3 times, and the decimal point goes here. So let's just try some. Let's look at where the decimal point goes. I've moved it 1, 2 to make it a whole number, moved it once to make it a whole number. 2 plus 1 is 3, so I have to start as a whole number and move it back in 3 times. One other way to look at this is the 100th place. This is the 10th place, because I would say 5 and 42 hundredths. I would say 1 and 3 tenths. 100 times 10 is the thousandths. Do you see how this is now in the thousandths place? We would say 7 and 46 thousandths. Okay, so let's look at both ways. First of all, to make this a whole number, I'd move it 1, 2, 3 times. This one I won't move at all, so I have to move this one back in 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that works. This is the thousandths, and this is a whole number, so it'd be like timesing 1. Is my answer in the thousandths place? And it is, 43 and 71 thousandths. All right, I want you to try this one. You can use either strategy, counting them, or knowing their place values. If I count, I'm going to do the place value first. This is 100th, and this is tenths. 100 times 10 is 1,000. So this has to be in the thousands place. So it'd have to be tenths, hundreds, thousandths. So the 75 would have to go here because that would make it 75 thousandths. Or let's count. 1, 2, 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, so I have to move it back in 3. 1, 2, 3 in this case, because there isn't anything, I'd have to add that 0. So they match. Here's one you could probably do mentally. If I took this as a whole number and took off these zeros, this is just 3 times 5, which is 15. Now count in your place values. This would be 1, 2, 3 to make it a whole number, and this is, so I have to move it back in 3. 1, 2, 3. And there it would be. So go ahead and get started on your worksheet.